Hello everybody, I have a little again. No, everything's fine. So, welcome back everybody. I'm still with Tatiana Delgado and we're here for a Meet Our Speaker session. So we will have a lot of questions to ask. If you have anything to ask Tatiana about Call of the Sea or maybe about something else, feel free to do. I will relate the question. But first, I have question myself for you, Tatiana.
Okay.
I really wanted. So I know you have you briefly introduced yourself in your talk, but I would like to ask again. How many years did you say you work in the video game industry?
I started on 2000, year 2000, and I had a brief stop in because I wanted to finish my studies.
Oh,
But I've been 18 years,
okay.
so it's a long way.
Yeah, it's a long way. And how many different job did you do? Were you always only game designer or scenarist or writer? You see, how many
Yeah.
did you?
I've been working mostly as a game designer and level designer. So
Okay.
I love both of them, but I think I had been like probably, I don't know, like 75% game designer and
Hmm.
25% level designer.
I see. And did you think, for you, is game design always related to writing? Because like in Call of the Sea, you talk to us a lot about writing and story. So for you, are those hello, this is my cat. I don't know if you see. Yeah, you see,
Yeah.
you almost see that. So for you, how is writing a big part in game design?
It depends on the project, because when you're in a small company, oh, it's super cute.
You want to move? Okay.
Oh, when it's a small company, you have to do sometimes most of the work of the branches of the game designer, like level design, game design, writing. Uh, it doesn't usually have to be like that. If there is a larger team, sometimes the people that takes care of the writing is another person.
Mhm.
But I want to also highlight the difference between a narrative designer and a writer.
Mhm.
So I've never been, well, sometimes I've been, but I'm more on the narrative design side. That is when you take care of putting the gameplay and the story together. But for Call of the Sea, we did have a writer that is the one
Oh.
that, as I said in my talk, I design the information that the player is going to get, but there is a person that writes the actual lines of the game,
Hmm.
using that in mind. So
Okay, I understand. Sorry, my cat is on my notes. Right.
yeah.
For Call of the Sea, you told us that the game was done in a year and a half, something like that.
Yeah, that's correct.
It's really quick, maybe for a game, don't you think? Like I'm more used to taking a lot of years to do. So is it normal for you to have made such a good game in such a short notice, or?
I think that most of the team is very senior. They've been
Hmm.
in the games industry for a long time, so we have learned a lot what we shouldn't do. So
Oh.
I've seen in most productions. I've been in many games that have been cancelled, and most of the times it's because the game or the people that is leading the game suddenly wants to introduce some changes at the very end, and that breaks all the game, and you have to redo it and extend the length of the production, and that's a lot of money.
Mhm.
So we had in mind that we wanted to make a pre-production that was very solid, to have everything defined very early,
Mhm.
and once we know the pillars of the game and the direction we wanted to take, just follow it until the end. And that's why I think we achieve finishing the game so fast.
Yes, because it's really impressive. Like you didn't have to do. I'm sorry to ask that, but we know that in the game industry, crunch is very often a thing. So, did you guys ever have to do crunch or not at all?
Not at all, but if we did, it was I own the company with my business partner, and we both were the ones that were, because it's our company and we
Yeah.
wanted the game to be perfect. And I know I shouldn't, but sometimes on the weekends I thought, oh, I'm just going to polish a bit this level so I know I shouldn't do it, but we try to avoid the crunch for the team. Because it's something very unhealthy and people lose motivation when do you have that, because we have suffered it too before.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, because as you told us, you know what mistake to avoid. So I'm guessing you already had problems maybe in other production, like all the mistakes were made and you have the experience now.
Yeah, I think in 18 years you see a lot of things, and I take note of how to try to avoid. Sometimes you cannot avoid things because it's very difficult to make a game and you have things that you haven't considered, but at least try to minimize. And as I said, there are for me two very important things. One, do a very strong pre-production and follow it. And second, don't try to see other, because sometimes when you're during your production, other games are released and there is a temptation of, oh, this game do this very nice and I want to have that in my game. And that's usually a very bad decision, because it usually having that in your game is going to break everything.
Yeah, that's really funny because everything you told us is a lot of things we have seen in other big production who are very who had a lot of crunch so it's really that. Yeah. We have a question in the chat from Sarah Guadagno. For Call of the Sea, at what stage did you engage with publisher? What made you choose Raw Fury over another publisher, and was self-publishing ever an option?
We engaged with them when we had just a small prototype of the game. So we didn't. It wasn't our plan to start production if we didn't get the funding to do so, because there was no way to make a game the size of Call of the Sea with no money. And we just wanted to bet on doing a prototype. It was like a small level with a puzzle, some narrative, all the interactions were there. And we went to the GDC and met with Raw Fury, and they loved the game. So we were really lucky that they saw something in Call of the Sea. And once we signed with them, is when we started the production.
So you never even thought of seeing other publisher because Raw Fury was already good?
No, we look for as many as we could.
Okay.
When you're a small studio, and it was we were unknown. It was our first game, so you have to talk with as many people as possible. And Raw Fury, once the first that were interested for the game, we're not the only ones, but we're the first one. And also we really love the way they work, the philosophy, the way they want to make the games industry a better place. And we were really happy how they treated.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I have a cat too, so
yeah. Okay. And self-publishing was never an option for now for you?
No, as I said, it was a huge.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm distracted by my cats. I'm so sorry.
No worries, no worries.
But yeah, you was as a small company, maybe it's much difficult to self-publish something, I suppose.
Yeah, if we would self-publish, we would go for something smaller, something that we could finish with like a very small amount of money and time.
Okay, yeah. I'm so sorry, my cat just stepped on my notes, so I will have to improvise. Cedric Berthier asked 1 year and a half starting from the publisher deals, or for the game, for the duration of the preparation of the game?
It was, so when we finished the prototype and we started looking for publisher, we stopped working on Call of the Sea because we didn't want to put more work in something that might not happen. Then when we start negotiating with Raw Fury, talking with a publisher, it takes a long time. So it can be like 2 months, 3 months, depends on how much they have on their site. Or so you have to plan for having a lot of months before starting the production. And once we signed with them and we got the funding, we could talk with other team members, hire people, and then start pre-production. So
I see. Okay, thank you. I hope it's answered your question, Cedric. So I will try to go on with my notes. It's so you explain it in your conference, but it's really interesting match to decide to go for a love story and to have some to add some Lovecraft bits in it. Where did this idea come? Was it only just to do something different with Lovecraft, or why picking Lovecraft bits for once?
Yeah. As I said, we wanted to tell a different story. I think when you are developing an indie game, you have to stand out from what you see in other games, because nowadays there are so many games that are being published that you have to do something different. And we thought, because we, as I said, we used to play a lot of tabletop RPGs, and we wanted to bring something new. We love playing that kind of games, and okay, let's try to do something very different with this, and that's how we came with this concept.
Yeah, that's really new. We never have seen that before, and that's great. So I wondered if you were interested in the horror. Sorry, I don't pronounce it right.
Okay,
but if you understand, would you be interested in doing an horror game, like or
yeah, I think in the future I would love to make a. I like horror games.
Yeah,
I'm really scared about it. And another of the game designers, we are really. I mean, I love them, but I have a very bad time playing them.
Yeah,
but I like.
Oh man.
But so yeah, it could be. I think it's. But for me, it's really difficult to make a good horror game because I don't like just jump scares.
Yeah.
That's super easy to do. I want to, if we ever do a horror game, I would like to do something that has a really nice atmosphere and build tension and do something.
I would love to see that, because a lot of horror games effectively have jump scare all over them, and that's too bad. But well, that would be so cool. So as you just told us, you played a lot of tabletop RPGs. Do you think it inspired a lot of your work all over the years, or did your inspiration from tabletop really was more marked in Call of the Sea? Or
I think when I was working for other companies, not my company, sometimes you had to follow what they tell you. So you're a bit more constrained in the design the stories you can tell. But in this game, and also in my previous company, as I mentioned, I did the narrative and game and the puzzles for Red Matter, that is a virtual reality game. And me and the other game designer, that is my business partner now, we put something that brings a lot from the tabletop RPGs to it. I think it's the way we used to play together, and that is shown on both Red Matter and Call of the Sea.
We have a question in the chat from Cynthia Girard. Hello everybody again, and so cute cat. My question, Tatiana, is Lovecraft universe, it was something you love to do or just an opportunity at the time?
It's something we love to. As I said, we play a lot of games inspired in tabletop games, and we want to bring one of those adventures that we used to play on the table with my friends. It's not a real adventure, so exactly the story of Call of the Sea doesn't exist, and we never played it, but it's similar to the games that we play, so that's why we wanted to bring as a video game.
Yeah, and as you told us, your characters in the game Call of the Sea was supposed to be character you could have in tabletop RPG, right?
Yeah.
Did it so it influenced a lot of the character design for them, their story and everything? Like you create them like I mean, how archetypal tabletop character work? If you can explain that.
Yeah, I think it's we used a lot of archetypes of from an expedition, and that's something that is, as I said before, in a game where you don't talk to characters, they are just there because you see their objects and pictures. It's very important to make them very archetypical, and they I think when you play a lot of games, you identify very easily the archetypes or the kind of characters you could create when creating a tabletop RPG. So
Yeah.
we
I understand. So I have a question very important. You told us that you really wanted to have a fair representation of the culture, Polynesian culture, and you had to talk about with an association.
yes.
But why didn't you take a trip in Tahiti to be sure to be culturally accurate? Why?
I would love to, but so expensive.
Yeah.
First, it's so expensive, and second, because of COVID, of course. Actually,
Yes.
I was going to go, but because I've been with this consultant we had I've been learning with him for 3 years. So he's my teacher, and
Okay.
his sister was getting married in October last year, I think. I don't remember. It was big, but we were going to go to New Caledonia. I don't know how is it said
No, it is great.
for the wedding, and like an actual Polynesian wedding, but we couldn't because of COVID. It's like,
Oh, that's too bad. Because yeah, it's how did it work to work with an association to be sure to have a good representation of the culture? Like, would you send them everything you have every time you have an idea? Would you write it and send it to them, or were they coming to you? How did it work?
we did a workshop with the whole team. It was really funny. He was telling us about like everything, like the plants, what kind of plants, the craft. We were also crafting things with leaves. The way the towns were built, like for example, these are very small details, but I like to, as I said, we love detail. And if you go to the level where you see like an abandoned village, you could see there are red plants on the sides of the huts. And this is something that he told us, that these plants that are called auti, there are red ones and there are green ones, and the red ones are put in front of the houses to protect from the bad spirits. And that's something very nice that we could add because we knew these details, and it was really nice to see. And I saw him the game, and he was so excited to, like, oh my god, this is like being in the island in the Pacific. He was really excited because they're a bit he told me that nowadays the young people in Polynesia, they are drawn more to like technology, and they kind of forgetting their roots. So he thought it was really nice to have in a video game something that could reflect their roots, so they could embrace them and see how cool they are, and how important it is not to lose everything that they have in their culture. So they are very excited
Yeah,
to have a Call of the Sea.
that's so cool. And so did you all already had work with another association to be sure to have a good representation, or is it rare?
It's the first time. I think it's the first time I did it.
Okay.
So, but since as I said, I've been studying with them for a long time, and I thought it was really important to have them there. So
Okay. Yeah, because I think it's really great that you did that, but I suppose it's not really common in video games to always do such deep research about their subject. Like, so yeah, in all the years you have worked in the video game industry, so this is the first time you work with an association about
Yeah.
representation. Oh, okay. Yes, that's really interesting. Sarah Guadano, sorry if I mispronounce your name. Besides the puzzle experience, what kind of story and subject would you like to bring to the table through your next title?
We're working right now in a very interesting concept, but I cannot tell anything at this
Okay.
moment.
Too bad.
But it's going to be, we always want to bring something that has both an appeal to like a wide audience, but at the same time, like make people question things or shock people in a way. So I think we are going to do that with the next game, but I cannot tell anything. I hope very soon we can tell something about it.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. We will wait for that with impatience. So I already asked that, but do you think like what kind of study would you have to do to have the jobs that you are doing now? If you understand my question.
Yes, I think that's a very difficult question for a game designer. I think people nowadays are very lucky. The young people have how do you say, college studies for game design, so game design degrees, and I think that's really, really good. When I started on the games industry, there wasn't any
So
degrees.
what did you do?
Yeah, I'm a computer. No, I don't know how is it in French or in English, but I am telecommunications engineer.
Okay, I
So
understand.
it's like a mix of electronic antennas and computers and engineering. And I haven't used anything, I think. So I started programming a bit, but I really enjoy more creating the story and the puzzles and game design. So I quit programming a long, long time ago.
Okay, so how did you end up in the video game industry?
Because I really loved not only playing. I was really lucky when I was young because my father really loves computer games. And I had a console or a PC since I was very, very small. And also gaming was like a family entertainment, so we did it all together, and I grew up with video games. But the thing is that I started to do my own games. I couldn't program, so I felt I needed to do something, and I did my games with paper, just paper prototypes.
Okay.
And I played it with my sisters or my cousins, and I realized that I really enjoy seeing people playing my games, my designs. And then that's when I thought, okay, that's something I could do for a living. And then I started studying at school and continue studying at school. And when it was a moment to select what to study, I thought that perhaps it was the time to study or to learn how to program, to build my own games. And my parents said, okay, you can study at least something, and after that you can do whatever you want with it. And when I finished my studies, I realized that, okay, now I know how to program, but I don't, I don't enjoy it. So I was lucky to get my first job as a game designer, and I've continued that way.
Okay. Cynthia wants to know which game influenced you the most in your life, if you can answer that.
Well, I think there has been many games that I can, at the different stages of my life. The first one that I think put a lot of influence to me was an old game, a platformer. It was Wonder Boy in Monster World.
Oh, okay.
It was, I think they made a very beautiful remake some years ago. And I think it's the first moment when I started to do like a big, I made one of the paper designs inspired in that game, like a huge project. And I think that was one of the games. Then when I was older, I was playing LucasArts adventure games and also Myst and Riven. Those games where you have a story and a nice environment, and those I realized, okay, this is the kind of games I want to make in the future. If I get to make games one day, I would like to make these games. I think those are the influences that, or the games that make me want to join the game industry. Once I was in the game industry, of course, I love the more nice games came, and I love them, like Portal 2, or I don't know. There are so many games that I enjoy. I think more recently the what remains of Edith Finch? Is that the way of
Oui,
saying?
What Remains of Edith Finch. Yeah, it was so cool.
I really love the way what they did with so many game mechanics and how they put you in the moment. I don't want to make spoilers, but everybody
Um,
should play it.
It reminds me of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I see. Yeah, I can see it kind of look like Call of the Sea. So
yeah.
it's really, really well done. So yeah, okay. Because I was wondering. Oh no, I lost my question. I'm so sorry, I lost my question. That's so bad. We were talking about puzzle game, and yeah, I was wondering if there was so as a narrative, I mean game designer, but also as a narrative designer, maybe. Is there a genre of story you prefer, like science fiction, fantasy, heroic fantasy? Is there something you prefer, or are you familiar with all of these and do you like them all equally?
Mm, Perhaps lately I love more like uh, early 20th century settings, like
Mm.
more like Call of the Sea, or Red Matter was set in the Cold War.
Mm.
I think I love these settings, but I always look for trying new things. So I think that I'm but because it has been seen too much, I'm not so much for fantasy settings
Mm-hmm.
today. But perhaps in a couple of years, I'm back to fantasy.
Hmm. Okay, I see. Um, do you have any anecdote about a video game you played that really stuck with you?
Mm, that's a I don't
Difficult
know.
question.
Yeah. Mm, oh, yes. Well, a small one. There is a place in Riven, the game that I always talking about because I
Yeah.
really love it. I think that game has the most beautiful for that time backgrounds at the
Mm-hmm.
world design, and there is like a small beach that is very calm. It has like a transparent water, and there was a lot of times when I was stressed and I was feeling bad. If I close my eyes and I think in that place, I relax a lot.
Oh, that's
It's
cool.
like a safe place to go. I really love this place in that game.
Yeah, okay. So, in the end, puzzle games are not really only stressful. Like, as you said, we have to do stressful things and then calm down.
Mhm.
But for you, puzzle game feels more like a safe place, if I can say, like a
Yeah.
relaxing time.
Mhm.
Ah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So yeah, well, you were telling us about playtest and the importance of playtest in your workflow. I wonder if you time every time. I mean, if you have a chronometer. I don't know how to say
Yes,
it in English, but
I understand, but
yeah.
I don't know
So
how
for
it's
the
in
puzzle,
English, but
okay. So when you had a different puzzle, do you timed it every time and see which one was the longest?
yes, yes,
Yeah,
it's
to this extent.
it is very important to know
Okay.
how long people or players take. Also, because we need to, when you start preparing the game, you make like a estimation how long the game is going to be,
Mm.
and because it should be for Call of the Sea, we estimated around 5 to 6 hours, and more or less it's around that time. If you have to to spend some time looking for clues and things like that. So it is really important, because if you design a puzzle that is super short, then when you put all the puzzles together, you can find that instead of 5 hours, you only have 2 hours, and that's a disaster. So you have to be very careful with making the game not too long but not too short.
Because you had a window of time you wanted to have for the game in the end, and you had
Yes.
to respect that.
Yes,
What?
because the law there is, you have to, when you make the budget for the game, you have to think how long it's going to be, because that sets the price of the game. And when you talk to the publishers, they need to know more or less how the price they are going to get, an estimation on units, and they can make their numbers to know
I
how
see.
profitable it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to make sure you have at least some gameplay hours, and that's very interesting, because nowadays there is a trend in gaming that seems the longer you are, the
The
more
better.
value. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't think that's good, because sometimes, for example, for Call of the Sea, we could have added extra content that doesn't mean anything, or is just to make the players stuck in in the levels, and that would break the essence or the rhythm of the game. So I think it's better to just have a length of what the game should be, as long as they should not extend them just because you want to put extra hours.
Yeah, I understand. As a streamer, it's literally my job to play video games, but there are a lot of games who are very too much long, and I can't do them all. So it was really cool to see Call of the Sea has a clear path, and once it's done, and it was really really great like that. Um. So. Um. You said that a lot of people always ask you, when do you know it's time to stop for the playtest? Like when do you know you have to change things, and when do you know you don't have to change things? Do you have any tips for us, or for video game developer?
I think first, the more you can test, the better.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is, after each playtest, when we do it with friends, we try to change things. What do you know? What to change? That's a bit more instinct, because it's very important. You don't have to listen to everything a player says, because people is subjective, is different, and you have to make sure they like the genre of the game you're showing them. Because if you put someone that doesn't like puzzle games at all, is going to give a feedback that is not useful.
Yeah, of
Or
course.
at least you need to try to interpret the feedback. I think it's useful to have someone that doesn't like puzzle games, to see how they approach also and try to learn things. But what to change and what to know is something that you need to draw from your experience and your instinct. And sometimes you change something, and then you play with another person and you realize that it was better the way before, so you have to go back. So it's a difficult, it's an art on itself. I think being a game designer is something that is not easy at all.
Hmm. I understand. Sarah is asking, any production anecdotes you can share with us? Did the pandemic add an impact, good or bad, on productions?
Um, the lucky thing is that we were working remote before the COVID. So I've been working from home since 2015. And I think I would never go back to working in an office. Before COVID, what we did was once a month or even twice a month, we rented an how do you say, an office, a work,
Yeah, an office. Yeah.
like an office space, and gathered together, like to explain features and things like that. But after COVID, we couldn't do it. But the good thing is that all the structures are. Sorry, my cat was now making some noise. Like all the production pipeline was prepared for remote work, and we had people that is from not only Madrid. We are based in Madrid, Spain. We have people in Alicante. We have people in Greece. Now today we have people in Brazil. So what we can do now is have talent from around the world, and it's super nice. And one anecdote, I don't know. It's very hard because I'm sure once we finish this, I will come up with like 10 ideas of things to tell. I think one funny thing is that I think there's something that happens in a lot of games, that we as a game designers, we have like the official name for every puzzle, but then we have nicknames. So they start like with a super serious official puzzle name, and we end calling them very funny names to refer to them. So it's very, very funny when you see the documents.
Okay. I'm curious to know the title of the game, Call of the Sea. Is there any anecdote behind that? When did you have the idea of calling your game Call of the Sea? Was it from the beginning?
It was from the beginning, and it's because of the Lovecraft inspiration. One of the tabletop, the famous tabletop game.
Call of Cthulhu, Call of the Sea. I see. I see. So it was, you never had to change the name, like it was this one and no other?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We made, at the beginning, we made a list of possible names, but I think it was Manu, my business partner, that came up with it. And we thought, yes, that's it. No more names. That's the name we want for the game.
Great. Okay. Team Cats on the chat, so it's good. We all love cats here. Do I have another note? Nope. My cats sit on my notes, so now there's weird stain on it, so I don't have any more notes. I think I've reached the end of the question I had about Call of the Sea. But I wonder if you had any tips maybe for someone who would want to start as a game designer in the industry.
Yeah, I think one thing is start doing your own games at home. I think people nowadays there is a lot of access to engines like Unity, Unreal, or even another more easier ones. And you can build your own prototypes. So for me, it's very important that as people that is starting a game industry, finish something. Why? Because it's very easy to start dreaming big and start your first game and do something very, very, very huge and never finish it. This is very common. So one trait is to show that you can finish things. So you can plan something small, start with like a very, very small thing and finish it. That is super important to learn. And another thing is to not only play video games. Sometimes when we start, we make games because we love games, but you tend to play the games you like. But you have to play every genre. For example, on my site, I don't like at all the racing games or a sport game. I don't like it. I don't have fun. But I had to do a racing game and a sport game. So you have to learn to play every game and analyze it and try to find the fun, even if you don't like that kind of games. But not only video games. It's very important to play any kind of game, board games, tabletop RPGs, watch movies, read comic books. Try to get your inspiration not only from video games, because if you only get it from video games, you're going to keep doing what you see and you're not going to be unique. So you look outside the video games, you're going to find a lot of ideas.
Yeah. Melisandre wants you to ask, how do you manage your workload with the different time zone, if you're in different time zone, and tools?
We use Discord to communicate. And for the people that is in Europe, the time difference is not a huge. But with Brazil now, there is a time difference. So what we are doing now, it's we don't work with how do you say, a timetable. What we do is work for objectives. So we set what everybody is going to have done in 2 weeks. We use a 2-week sprint. And in these 2 weeks, you can distribute the time as you want. we require to be connected like a couple of core hours, so if we have a meeting, so everybody at this moment with the people is now at the studio, we like from 1 p.m. to 3, I think everybody's there. So we will have any meeting, we put it in that time slot, but people, they can manage their time as they want, and it's super good for people that have kids, for example, if they need to take them to the doctor or to school, or if, for example, I really love going shopping when at times in the morning when there's no one in. So everybody's really happy to have this freedom of time during the week.
Yeah, I can see it work because you managed to do an awesome game in a really short time, and everyone seems to have a good workflow. So yeah, maybe it's the key has maybe always been remote working. Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think when you trust the team and how can I say, the people feels the freedom of doing the work the way they want, they work better. So I think that's so in Call of the Sea. I've been in so many companies when you have to be like from 9 to 7 or something like that, and if you leave early because you have done your work early, they look bad at you because it's like, oh, you're not working enough. It's like, okay. So it's what we call just staying in your chair, like losing the time because your work is done. And I don't believe in that. I think, and if, for example, in a creative work like the one we do as a game designer, for example, there are days that you don't get any idea, and it's normal. It's the creativity is like that. So if I don't have a good day, I just quit working that day and take a walk or do something, and then on the next day I just solve that task in 1 hour because I feel inspired. So I think it's really important to give that freedom to the team.
Okay, well, that's fascinating. And as a game designer, how do you see your job? Like, do you think your job is gonna change or maybe be a little different in the time?
But in comparison, sorry,
Like,
I jumped to Spanish suddenly. So,
okay.
so what do you mean? Like in the future
Yeah,
compared
in
to
the
today?
future, yeah. Maybe do you think your work as a game designer will change in the future because of new technology or new way to play, or do you think for now it's gonna be still the same?
I think it will change because what you said is really good. The games are going to change, so you have to adapt. For example, I was working in mobile and free to play for a while, and it's really different of what you design for a game like Call of the Sea, because when the game is free, you need to grab the attention of the player very soon. And now that's something that, for example, in Game Pass, for Call of Duty is available in Game Pass. And if I would make another game for Game Pass, perhaps I would use that technique too, to grab the attention of the players super fast, because when they have so many games to choose from, you have to stand out again.
Mm.
to, and yeah, I think you need to adapt. And about the technology, everything is going to be, some tools are going to be very, to make our work easier. It's always good. There are
Mhm.
things, I wonder, for example, for one interesting discussion is about artificial intelligence, how that is going to affect. But for me, the kind of games I like to design, I don't think it's going to affect that much, because the way I work, because we create experiences that are tailor-made. We want to tweak any detail, but
Mm.
I believe the artificial intelligence is going to play a part for larger games that have huge systems, a lot of NPCs, and you can create dialogues and things like that. I think the work for that game designers are going to change for sure.
I understand. Yeah, I am asking. I am. blah. I will manage it. I am asking that because as a streamer, I tend to see a lot of more and more video games who are designed to respond on to the stream. You know, do you think it would interest you to work on a game who would be tailored to work with a streamer or in the streamer experience?
Yeah, I think it's something interesting, and I forgot to mention too that is something that people take into account nowadays when they design game. Yeah, and I'm always open to try the new things or the things that are interesting in the moment. I think I have to say I was a bit worried for Call of the Sea because as you said, puzzle games, not single player experiences sometimes are not interesting for streamers. But I don't know why, because of the difficulty of the puzzles or because the kind of story we are telling is working really, really well with streamers.
Great.
And also I don't want to make spoilers, but there is a choice at the end. I always love to see when the streamers reach that moment. It's like, I want to see the reactions. I love it. And it's also very good to see how they interact with the people on the chat. What do I do? What do you want to choose? So,
it was. I think it's a really good game, even for streaming, because the story, the fact it's very story driven. For the viewer, it's really cool because it's like watching a movie for them. And for the streamer, we can focus on the story and speak of the story with the chat, and it's really there is no reason it wouldn't work. So it was a really great match, I think. So we don't have any other questions in the chat. If you have any question, please feel free to ask them. I will try to see if I have anything else on my note, but it was so clear and you had told us a lot of things. Maybe about your past experience, maybe? How do you recall how many games on how many games did you work? How many different games?
Let me see. Oh, I have to. I can go through all the companies and very quickly because I don't. My first job was in Retrouvez Studios, the developers of Blade. But I was working on the Xbox version that it was cancelled. So yeah, I think my first company, I got like a taste of what the future was going to be because it was the game was cancelled, the company closed. I was working and not being paid for 3 months, I think. So it was like it was bad, but I think I was lucky to have that in my first job because I wasn't afraid anymore. It's like, okay, I know this is the instability of the games industry. I know games are going to be cancelled, companies closed, but I will find a new job very soon. So, and I think it gave me a mindset that has helped me navigate the games industry along these years. And then I published a strategy Second World War game called War Leaders.
Okay.
Then 2 children games from Pocoyo. I don't know, it's a cartoon, like a blue kid. It's a Spanish cartoon, very popular. So games for kids for the Nintendo Wii and Nintendo DS. I did 2 games for web browsers, like strategy games. I did, what else? And I work in Tequila Works. I was doing a game that was cancelled again. And then I held the team that finished the Deadlight. And then 2 virtual reality games. I was working at Keen for a mobile game, Gameloft for another mobile game. And I think that's it. I don't know. It's a
well, it's a pretty list, right? I was wondering which one was the best to work on for you, except Call of the Sea. I'm sure it would have been Call of the Sea, but except Call of the Sea, which have been your best experience in working on those video games?
I think for the as a company, the best one was King, the developers of Candy Crush, because they they take care of the people that works there a lot. They invest in the people. They give you a lot of courses to teach you a lot of things. So they invest in people, and there is no crunch at all. They give you anything you need, like a stand-up desk, and I don't know, any fancy things you need to make your work better. But that's because they have a lot of money, so they can afford that.
Okay.
And the best game, I think my best experience was in Thinkia creating this Nintendo DS adventure game for kids.
Yeah.
It was really fun because it was like a small project, but it was the first project I was able to get a lot of freedom to design things. And I was thinking that perhaps this is the game that it would be the first game of some kids, and in the future they remember this game as something special. So I wanted to put a lot of care into that game. And I think also it was a children game, but we didn't want to make like a stupid game. We wanted to make like a real game for them, like something they can appreciate and enjoy. And I remember that as a good time designing that game.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. And now that Call of the Sea have encountered success, do you think it will help for your next production? Like, will you have more budget now, for example? Would you like to go on a bigger project, like a bigger games, or would you think you would do rather a similar game?
I think our company strategy, both me and Manu, my my business partner, we want to be calm, take small steps. So we are going to grow a bit. We don't want to grow too much because we understand that, because we both like to do things. We are the bosses, but we don't want to just sit down, and we want to go into the engine and do things. And if we grow a lot, we are going to be too away from the games. We are just going to be managers, and it's something we don't want to do. And I think also being too big can make perhaps the team is going to be a bit more disconnected. So our size, I think, is going to be like around 20 people maximum in the future. But as I said, we are going step by step.
Okay. Oh, I see. Cynthia wanted to ask, I don't know if you spoke about it before, but I heard you talk about board games before and tabletop games, of course. She wonders if you already have designed any or if you would like to.
I haven't, but I would love it. I think as a game designer, it's really fun to find new ways of designing I would love to. I don't have time now, but I think in the future I would really perhaps, I don't know, we can make a board game about one of our games.
Yeah, I was thinking Call of the Sea board game, yeah.
Yeah, and I would really love to write down the expedition from Call of the Sea adventure as an adventure for a tabletop RPG. I think that would be super cool too.
I understand. Okay. Well, I don't have any more questions this time. I really have reached the end of it. I think the chat has too. I really want to thank you for your time, for everything you say. It was really, really interesting and important. And I can't wait to see your next project. And I'm sure everybody in the chat wants to. I was wondering if you had anything you wanted to tell to the audience.
Well, I want to thank everybody that has been with us this afternoon. It was really, really nice to chat with you and answer to their questions. And yeah, I think if anybody still hasn't played the game, I would love to take a look because we have put all our craft and love into creating it. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, thank you again, and thank you everybody to have listened to this Meet Our Speakers.